Taurus has learned that it's the sign that doesn't fly, that doesn't get lost in fantasy, that prefers the real to the imagined. And for years you believed this without questioning. But have you ever asked a Taurus what they dreamed about last night? Pay close attention to what happens in that instant. They hesitate, they look away for a second before answering, as if choosing right there how much to reveal. Because the truth is that Taurus dreams more than any other sign dares to admit, and dreams with an intensity that contradicts everything they construct during the day. While the sun is in the sky, Taurus is discipline. It's routine. It's the hand that holds the glass without spilling, the body that occupies space without haste, the voice that rarely rises in tone. In the morning, it decides exactly who it will be. Someone solid, someone reliable, someone who doesn't need anyone to support their own ground. But the night doesn't ask permission. And it is there, in the dark, that the other half of Taurus finally gains permission to exist. You've probably heard that dreams are just the residue of the day, loose thoughts, meaningless images, the brain organizing its belongings. That's true for some signs. It's not true for Taurus, because Taurus is ruled by Venus, the same planet that commands desire, pleasure, and the beauty that reason can never quite explain. And Venus, during the day, is stifled by so much practicality. It doesn't disappear, it waits. And when Taurus's body finally relaxes, when vigilance lowers its guard, it is Venus that takes command of the night. That's why Taurus dreams carry a different texture than the dreams of any other sign. They have a taste, they have a smell, they feel heavy in their hands. A Taurus dreams of food they've never tasted, of a house they've never visited, of a hand holding theirs that they can't identify upon waking. And the strangest thing is that they remember. They remember details that other signs would never retain, because for Taurus, everything that is felt, even within a dream, becomes real enough to be imprinted. But there is a type of dream that repeats itself with a frequency that should be more disturbing than it is. It's not the dream of flying, it's not the dream of being chased, it's the dream of losing the house, losing the money saved with such care, losing teeth one by one, feeling each one fall into the palm of the hand, losing the ground beneath one's own body, literally, as if the earth in which one trusts so much suddenly decided to stop supporting oneself. And here lies the first contradiction that no one taught you to see. Taurus builds security all day long. It stacks, guards, plans, protects, calculates every risk before taking the next step. And at night, without exception, it dreams precisely of losing everything it spent the day protecting. It's not a coincidence, and it's not punishment either. It's an old message that the body sends to the mind, in a language that only exists when the eyes are closed and no one else is looking to judge what appears. The question that remains is simple and at the same time impossible to answer in the morning, drinking coffee, pretending everything is fine. What exactly is Taurus so afraid of losing that it needs to dream about it almost every night, just so it never has to feel that fear while awake, walking on its own 2 feet through its own days with its own certainty that everything is indeed under control? This question is unsettling because it was never about any dreams. It's about what you're avoiding feeling while you're wide awake, with your eyes open, pretending that everything is under control. It was in seeking answers to these reflections that the digital book, The Divine Wisdom, that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life was born. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties. Many people have already begun this journey of self-discovery and found a new way to look at their challenges. Now it's your turn. Access to the digital book is available in the first pinned comment. Don't miss the opportunity to learn a perspective that can transform how you face spiritual envy, strengthen your energy, and continue your journey with more clarity. Click now and discover how the 12 laws of the universe can become a guide to a more conscious, balanced, and resilient life. If something within you recognized this pattern now, it's because it was already active before this video started. This discomfort won't go away on its own. It demands a response while you're still awake to face it. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Leave a comment below. What was the last dream that made you wake up feeling like you were losing something you didn't even know you were so afraid of losing? Notice something strange. Taurus is the sign that most values the body. They eat with pleasure, sleep with pleasure, enjoy the weight of good things in their hands and mouths. And yet, in their dreams, it's precisely the body that usually betrays them. Teeth that fall out without pain, but with a hollow sound that they feel even when awake. Legs that can't run when they need to. Hands that try to hold something and it slips, 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 without stopping. It's not the unconscious being random. It's the unconscious speaking in the only language Taurus truly understands, the language of the body. Because for Taurus, security has never been an abstract concept. Security is felt in the skin. It's the house that has a familiar smell, the food that's always in the pantry, the body that functions without unpleasant surprises. And when that body, in a dream, begins to fail, to lose pieces, to no longer obey commands, something much deeper than the fear of death is being touched. It's the fear that the foundation they themselves built, with their own hands over the years, will one day simply stop responding. This fear usually didn't just appear yesterday. Many Taurus children carry deep down some form of scarcity. Not necessarily financial scarcity. Sometimes it's a lack of attention, of available affection, of comfort that wasn't always given when asked. And the response the child found to survive that was, I myself will ensure that I never lack anything again. I myself will become my own source. But a child who decides this very early carries for the rest of their life an overly sensitive alarm system. Any sign of possible loss, even a small one, even if only imagined during sleep, triggers the same old siren. And that's where the first great paradox lies, one that no one told you about. Taurus seems like the most confident sign on the outside. Firm steps, slow and well thought out decisions, no one pushes them anywhere they don't want to go. But inside, much of that security is armor built on top of an unresolved fear, and dreams of loss aren't the problem. They're the only space where that fear is finally allowed to appear without having to disguise itself as strength. There is also a third type of dream that Taurus rarely discusses, not out of shame for the dream itself, but out of shame for what it reveals about daily life. It's the dream where they want something with an intensity that, while awake, they would never admit aloud. Changing careers completely, ending a relationship that's too comfortable to question, moving to a new city without any plan, just to experience the thrill of starting over. In the dream, this desire appears pure, without guilt, without risk assessment. And that's precisely why it's so unsettling upon waking, because it reveals, unfiltered, what's suffocated beneath so much responsibility. Taurus has a habit of deciding what they can and cannot want, even before truly feeling the desire. They filter desire by asking, is this safe? Before even asking, is this good for me? And over time, this filter becomes so automatic that they no longer realize they are choosing safety over their own desire, almost every day, in small decisions that add up. The body feels this choice, even when the mind pretends everything is all right. And it is precisely this repressed desire that the night opens up, without asking permission, like someone finally unlocking a drawer that has been closed for too long. The curious thing is that this type of dream is usually accompanied by a physical sensation that is almost impossible to mistake, a relief in the chest, as if an invisible weight had been lifted from the ground for a few minutes. And it is this relief, more than the desire itself, that Taurus should pay attention to, because it shows, without a doubt, the magnitude of the weight that is being carried every day without anyone, not even themselves, really realizing it. If that old alarm, that fear that the foundation built with so much effort might fail, sounded too familiar to be just about dreams, perhaps it's time to look at it while awake. That's exactly what the digital book, The Divine Wisdom That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Purposeful Life, is about, understanding where this relentless search for security comes from, and how to transform that armor into a root of truth, not a prison. It shows how Taurus can stop living in alert mode and start trusting the abundance that already exists within them without needing to dream of loss to feel their own worth. The units available for full access are limited. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. He has another dream that Taurus knows well and rarely talks about aloud. It's the dream of being trapped, not necessarily in a cell or behind bars. Sometimes it's more subtle than that, wanting to run and his legs won't move, wanting to scream and no sound comes out, wanting to leave a room and the door simply won't open, no matter how much he turns the doorknob in his hands. It's the feeling of seeing everything happen, knowing exactly what he needs to do and not being able to move an inch. This dream isn't about physical limitations. It's about a pattern that Taurus lives, often unconsciously, every waking day, because the same stability that protects Taurus can also become a silent cage. They stay in a job that no longer makes sense because it's already known, predictable, and safe. You stay in a relationship that has lost its spark because starting over seems too daunting. You remain in an old version of yourself because change, even for the better, means letting go of control over an outcome you already know by heart. And the mind, generous and cruel at the same time, transforms all of this at night into a scene where the body simply refuses to obey. Here's the second paradox, even more unsettling than the first. The same force that Taurus uses to build a solid life is the force that, when exaggerated, prevents it from leaving where it no longer fits. Stability and stagnation wear almost the same clothes. The difference between them is so subtle that many people live for years without understanding which side of the line they're on. And the dream of being trapped, the one that bothers you so much when you wake up, may be exactly the warning the body sends when the mind hasn't yet had the courage to admit aloud that something needs to change. Notice that in this dream there is almost never a villain. No one locked the door out of malice. No one tied the legs on purpose. The prison is always made of one's own choices, piled up over such a long period that Taurus no longer remembers when it began to settle in. And perhaps this is the hardest detail to swallow. If the cage was built by one's own hands, brick by brick, it will only be dismantled by the same hands, one brick at a time, without haste, but without further delay. If you recognized that silent cage, that stability that became a burden and no longer protection, it's a sign that some part of you already knows it's time to move. The digital book, The Divine Wisdom That Guides Your Zodiac Sign Towards a Purposeful Life, was created precisely for this moment. It offers reflections and exercises to help Taurus differentiate between roots and imprisonment, and to rebuild the courage to start over without losing their footing along the way. It's about learning to move without feeling unstable and trusting that there is safety even on the other side of change. Access is available for a limited time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. But not all Taurus dreams are about fear. There's another type, rarer, quieter, that almost no one talks about because it doesn't seem dramatic enough to tell anyone. It's the dream of abundance, a table full of food that never ends, a green field stretching as far as the eye can see, a house with all the rooms occupied, with loved ones nearby, with nothing lacking anywhere. And Taurus wakes up from this dream with a strange feeling. It's not pure relief. It's almost a longing for a place they've never visited, but which seems, in some ancient way, familiar. This dream is the exact opposite of the dream of loss, and that's why it reveals as much as the other, because it shows what Taurus is really looking for behind all that discipline, all that control, all that resistance to change. He doesn't seek money for money's sake. He doesn't seek possession for possession's sake. He seeks the deep and rare feeling that finally nothing is lacking, that he can relax his whole body without fear that, at the next turn, everything will crumble again. And it is precisely this feeling, so simple to describe and so difficult to truly feel, that most Tauruses pursue their entire lives without ever being able to name it. Here lies the third paradox, the most beautiful of all. The abundance that Taurus dreams of doesn't come from outside. It never has. The full house, the lavish table, the endless field, all of this is a metaphor that the unconscious itself uses to describe an internal state, not a bank account. It's the feeling of being sufficient exactly as one is, without needing to accumulate anything more to prove it. And until Taurus understands this difference, he will continue to confuse possession with peace and will continue to wake up from these pleasant dreams with a strange emptiness in his chest, as if he felt for a few seconds something that waking life hasn't yet allowed him to fully experience. It's no coincidence that among all the signs, Taurus is the one that most associates love with food, affection with physical gifts, and care with constant presence. They learned very early on to translate feelings into tangible things, because tangible things don't disappear, don't change their minds, don't go away without warning. But true feeling has never fit entirely within an object. And perhaps that's why the realm of dreams never ends. Because no amount of possession, real or imagined, would be able to fill a void that demands something else, simpler and more difficult at the same time, called presence. The gap between dreamed of abundance and the abundance felt while awake is exactly what the digital book, the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life, helps Taurus overcome. It offers practical paths to recognizing the abundance that already exists here and now without depending on yet another achievement, another possession, another accumulated proof of worth. It's an invitation to stop chasing peace and start truly inhabiting it. Only a few copies remain available in this access. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Perhaps this is the hidden truth behind Taurus's dreams. They don't exist to frighten, they exist to translate, in the only language that this ever-present body can truly hear, everything that reason insists on sweeping under the rug during the day. The fear of losing what was built with so much sweat, the weariness of remaining stuck in a place that no longer fits, and on the most generous nights, the reminder that true abundance has never been about having more. It has always been about feeling that you are enough. Taurus doesn't dream because it wants to escape reality. It dreams because there, without an audience, without the obligation to appear strong all the time, it can finally feel everything it spends the whole day holding back. And perhaps true maturity lies not in ceasing to dream of loss, or in never again dreaming of abundance, but in carrying those messages into the day with the same patience as someone who plants a seed knowing it won't become a tree overnight. The next time you, or the Taurus you love, wake up from a dream too strange to explain over breakfast, it might be worth not dismissing it so quickly. That dream could be the most honest part of the whole day. and honoring what it reveals, calmly, without haste, is exactly the kind of thing the Earth has always known how to do better than anyone, waiting for the right time to let everything finally bloom. Because deep down, all that nocturnal territory, the dreams of loss, of imprisonment, of abundance, of hidden desire, are not weaknesses of a sign that should always be firm. They are proof that, beneath all that visible solidity, there exists an inner life as rich as any fertile field after the rain. Taurus doesn't need to choose between being strong and being sensitive. He is already both at the same time, every night, without exception. The only question that remains is whether from now on he will continue to keep this wisdom trapped inside his dreams, or whether he will, little by little, with the patience that only the Earth possesses, let it rise to the surface and finally become part of his days as well.